Let's move to the air. Air can be created two ways. One is creating a separate object, another one is extracting from this one. Both ways work pretty fine. For this case, I'm gonna use extracting option. And maybe for next one, I'm gonna use the object. But for now, I need to set up the place. I'll press Q to choose clay strips and draw somewhere around here in the middle of the head. A stripe like this, setting up my jaw and the place where I'm gonna put my air in. I'm gonna press M to select my masking tool, and the air is positioned in very particular place. Of course, as I always like to teach, don't take this as concrete. Always play with it and see what works for you the best. Oh, there's two things. The nose, where the nose ends, the skull ends. And on this line, your ear should start, and ear ends where your eyebrow line starts, and the ear is in this position. Again, don't take this as 100% concrete evidence, as you always have to keep in this. I'm gonna make my ear definitely smaller, but let's move on. Make a small mask, not too big mask. This is not what your ear size is gonna be, but this is what your position first shape should be of the ear. I press A and choose invert mask and use a grab brush. I'll make it a bit bigger, not too big this time, and I'll make sure that my grabbing tool is grabbing this side of the ear and dragging it slowly out. Don't use big movement and drag out your ear like that. It'll make the shape different for now, so don't worry too much. I'm gonna go to the side and drag it out like that. Let's push this one a bit closer to the head. This one closer to this closer to the head. And let's shape it like that. I see that my ear got a bit lower, so I'll lift it up. And I just like, in general, a bit smaller ears. It's cute for me. Looks better on the models. And this is gonna be a good base. I'm gonna use one of the tools I did not talk about. One of the brushes is Inflate brush, and it works only in very, very rare cases. This is one of the cases, but I like to inflate the line and make the hair not a thick as a hair. Just make it a tiny bit thicker than a hair. And I will clear a mask and do a remesh. But first, let's actually save the file. Press Ctrl S. Write the name. Hit practice. And let's save a file. Ctrl R. And a very, very smooth out. If you're not that fortunate in not being able to afford a tablet, what you should do is move to your brushes, select smooth, and lower the strength. My general rule is lowering your strength twice the tablet strength, because when I'm sculpting around this strength, and you can see it's somewhere around the middle as how hard I'm pressing. Something like this. This is how generally I draw. So having it in half is gonna be closer to what I'm doing with my pen. So there, looks pretty good. Just moving a bit more. I'm gonna remesh it maybe again. And it's just a placeholder for now. So the ears and the head is not exactly like that. Let's open up the reference where we can see the face. And in this case, she has definitely a smaller kind of ears. Some of the other references probably has a bit more protruding ears. You can see like this one. But just a general rule, let me use a drawing. You can see that not a part of your ear is blocked by a face. And in my sculpt, it's not happening. You can see the top of the ear as well. So what I like to do is grab a brush tool and just push my ear in. Of course, my ear becomes a bit big, so I'll drag it in as well. I'll smooth out. Make sure your head shape is not changing too heavily. You can go ahead and adjust it as we talked in the first part. And it should be fine. This has some focal length. I would say around, this is pretty low. It would be like 70. Normally cameras are gonna be more as a 50, and that will change how it looks like. If you can see it, if I'm gonna go drastically, you can see all of the ears gonna be different, but this one is like pictured at 75, maybe even a bit less. You can see the ears are hitting quite well, and when we're sculpting on 95, you can see a bit more of the ears. So just make sure you're keeping that in your mind while sculpting. Okay, let's move ahead and add another feature of the face. It will be lips. Let me just make this a bit smaller. And lips are generally pretty easy to start with, but harder to master. I take a clay builder brush and build a small mountain on top like that. Can add a bit tiny more because we're gonna change it. It's not gonna stay like this form, but it's gonna help us a lot with shaping our lips. I'll take the smooth brush and smooth it out so it doesn't have too harsh of the values. For the lips and other things, I like to add a bit more vertice than this. But first I will save the file. Don't forget to save the files. Especially save the files before increasing a vertice count, because just in case you make a mistake remeshing and it crashes, then you will not lose too much. Well, not lose anything at all. I'll lower it double, so it's gonna be 0.025 around there. It doesn't have to be exactly like that. And hit remeasure. I'm gonna have 200,000 this time. Now your might be different count, and I tell to all students not to look at my remesh measure count. What is this number? What is this M number? But this vertices are much more important than what's your voxel size. I'm gonna go around with the smoothing brush, holding my shift to smooth out the shapes of the head. And when I'm done, I'm gonna go into the front view again. And this time I'm gonna use a draw sharp. I'm going to make it smaller because we're gonna make a crease in it. And draw a small half bubble like this. And from the corner, draw down like that. I'm gonna make my brush a bit smaller again. Make it just like that. Now, looks very weird, and that's totally okay. can use a bit of crease brush, which is Shift C, and draw this line again. It's gonna make your shape a bit different. And here we go. We have almost done with the lips. And there's a lot of other ways on how to move forward with the lips, but I will tell you a secret how I like to do my lips. I will going to go into this view pretty close, press Shift and Control together, and use my lasso mask first time in the sculpt. I will very carefully draw in this crease shape, go down and get the mask like that. Very important to invert the mask, and now with the A and drawing down we can smooth. One smooth, two smooths, it's enough, and I will invert my mask again. Now I'll go down. You can do it from down, you can do it from top, but you won't be able to do it from the front. What I'm doing is use grab tool, and not with the huge brush, someone in the middle. I will slowly drag the lips out. Now they might look a bit weird and not that shape. So what I do is change my brush even to a smaller one and draw up. This way I form the shape of the lips. Can make the bubble of the middle a bit bigger and make a really nice shape for front top lip. Let's clear the mask. Next one's gonna be the bottom lip. Bottom lip can be a bit more complex because we'll have to draw in by ourselves. You can use clay strips, you can use draw sharp, you can even use a crease brush, but for this one I will use a bit of clay strips at the beginning and draw in the shape. Now there's a lot of different shapes you can draw in your lips. Don't be too fixated on how you're making it at the beginning, because we're gonna do quite a lot of the adjustment to make it work and look better. Another thing that is very important for bottom lip is the crease here. I'll take a draw sharp and with a medium size brush draw in like this. Maybe a bit strongly in my case, so I will drag it out a bit. Smooth very gently, even maybe lower the strength of the smooth brush so you just don't destroy too much of the detail. I want to make my chin a bit bigger, so I'm gonna use a grab tool to drag out to the side. Now there's a general rule, again don't take this as a guideline and not a must to do rule, but the lips and nose, lips, bottom lip and your chin stand up into this tilted line. I can make my nose a bit more outward. I'll actually drag my lips a bit in like that, not too much. You can look at the references, you'll get a bigger feel. What I like to do in my PureRefs is choose few views. So I will press Ctrl C to copy and Ctrl V to put it in. You can use few images, put them close. You can save the file and you won't have to search through the old file and you will have what you need. You can even change the direction of your reference in the PureRef with Shift, Alt, and H, which is for horizontal. Shift, Alt, H horizontal, and Shift,